Imagine for a moment that you are running Al-Qaeda. That means you're spending a lot of time figuring out how to murder people, but it also means you have kind of a hard job because you're trying to manage this global terror network, and you don't want the United States, with its vast global policing and surveillance resources, to be able to catch you. So if your job is running Al-Qaeda, you have to be really, really careful about how you communicate with your employees. We know, for example, that Osama bin Laden didn't even use a cell phone. He used couriers with paper messages because he knew his communications could and very likely would be monitored. Of course, some of his couriers apparently did use cell phones, and that is part of what helped bring about his ultimate downfall. But let's say, just for argument's sake, you're heading up the new post-Bin Laden Al-Qaeda, and you're also terrible at your job. And so you're not at all concerned about your communications being monitored. Let's say you were somehow not aware of the spying capabilities and proclivities of the United States government. Until, that is, you read in The Guardian and The Washington Post earlier this month, the NSA had been bulk collecting metadata, or even of phone calls, or even for a time bulk collecting email data, as we all learned today in a news scoop. And if you were the head of Al-Qaeda and it never occurred to you that American spies might be tracking your internet or phone records, then sure, yeah, you'd probably read those articles and think to yourself, holy crap, if the Americans can just spy on us like that, I need to completely revamp the way I'm communicating with my terrorist henchmen. Okay, so let's say you have a meeting and you do just that. You totally change up your freewheeling ways. You stop plotting terror over Google Hangouts. You shut down your terrorist recruiting Facebook page and start a Tumblr instead. You get rid of your Verizon smartphones and sign up with a new carrier. All because you know the American government has probably been monitoring your communications through those means. And you want to go somewhere else where they can't see what you're up to. But what if someone in the U.S. government tipped you off that they know that you've changed your habits? They know you're on Tumblr now. They're still watching you. In fact, they're watching you so closely and effectively that they're watching you change your habits as you try to avoid being watched. Well, that is precisely what these theoretical, hapless terrorists would have learned from reporting this week by veteran CNN Pentagon reporter Barbara Starr.
Now, U.S. officials say other terrorist groups are reacting to these disclosures by Snowden and very quickly also changing their communications methods.
The article accompanying that report cites unnamed anonymous intelligence and administration officials speaking in very specific terms about the ways in which the American intelligence community is able to observe terrorist groups as they change their communication patterns. It's the kind of information that, I would hazard to guess, is almost certainly classified. One of these unnamed sources, in fact, goes so far as to offer an example of exactly the kind of thing the terrorists are doing now in order to avoid detection by U.S. spies. Quote, the administration official offered an example of one concern. Terrorists may be less inclined to communicate via clean email accounts that have no links to them because they believe the U.S. government can track those. This article not only self-servingly advances the narrative that the intelligence community would like us to believe, that the Edward Snowden leaks have helped the terrorists, but in doing so, it could be seen as doing far more to concretely alert terror groups to what the U.S. intelligence community knows about them and their communications than anything published by The Guardian or The Washington Post. And yet, somehow, I have not heard members of Congress calling Barbara Starr's reporting dangerous or pushing for her prosecution the way some did when Glenn Greenwald reported the Edward Snowden leaks.
Greenwald says that he's got it all and now is an expert on the program. He doesn't have a clue how this thing works. Neither did the person who released just enough information to literally be dangerous.
I'm talking about Greenwald, where you have someone who's disclosed secrets like this and threatens to release more. Then to me, yes, there has to be legal action should be taken against him.
Peter King, as far as I know, is yet to call for legal action against Barbara Starr. And she's certainly not been the subject of long, detailed hit pieces on her past personal life, though that is precisely what has happened to Glenn Greenwald, who reported on the Edward Snowden leaks. I want to be very clear here. I do not know what helps or does not help the terrorists. I simply don't. And I am certainly not saying Barbara Starr helped the terrorists by publishing a report. I don't think she did, any more than Glenn Greenwald did. And more importantly, I don't think the vast majority of people that you see opining on what helps the terrorists have any freaking clue what actually does or doesn't. But it is a problem for this country and for the functioning of our democracy when Glenn Greenwald's leaked reporting is treated so differently than the Barbara Starr leak reporting. When, as with Glenn Greenwald's reporting, the leaks are not specifically designed to advance the Pentagon's agenda, then we have shock and controversy and calls for prosecution. But when they are, as with the Barbara Starr reporting, radio silence. There is a vast and growing web of secret government in this country. And it simply cannot be the case. It is not acceptable that the only things we know about it are the things the members of that secret government want us to know. Because at the end of the day, it is on us, it is on all of us, what our government does in our name. We'll be right back.